Lauren, this is Kooks Boots and welcome to my 2025 digital reading journal setup. That was a mouthful. So rather than a physical journal this year, I am once again attempting a digital journal. Last year we got maybe 2 months in before that went out the window. We're going to try it again this year. I feel like it's much more likely to happen than a physical journal because I don't have that kind of reserve of journaling ephemera to build things up with, and I think that's something that you need to build up over time. So maybe if this journal goes well this year, we'll think about moving back to a physical journal next year. The theme I have chosen for my journal this year is illustrated medieval manuscripts. That is so exciting to me. Originally it was going to be much more minimal, kind of monochrome, creepy. Kind of like black, white and grey, creepy, witchy, dark celestial. But I was really bored as I put a lot of hours into doing the setup for that journal, and I was really bored doing it, and I think that's a sign. So I was scrolling on Pinterest, saw a little pop-up for my favourite thing in the world, which is strange little medieval guys, and I knew that's what my journal needed to be for this year. So this is just a reading journal. I do have a physical journal for life stuff. I'm using the Joshi Corinne Gamify Your Life 2025 method this year. If you'd like to see that, let me know. It looks like a D&D character's in-game journal. I love it. I think I'm going to go voiceover mode and through the magic of the time-lapse from Procreate show you how I put these threads together and what they ended up looking like. Hello and welcome to voiceover mode. This is the cover page of my journal. I started by finding a little medieval guy reading. I got some medieval looking font for Lauren's reading journal. The Year of Our Lord 2025 really tickles me. Thought the dog was lonely, so I got him a little bunny friend who again I mercilessly traced. Do not expect me to draw a single thing independently for the entirety of this journal, thank you. For a border, I was like, do I draw one? Do I steal one? I tried to draw it, looked horrendous, decided to steal one. A little bit of copy and paste, bit of texture. That looks like a cover page to me. I did the texture for a lot of these pages by layering up different colours of like stippled brushes. For my reading quest or my reading goals, I got this gorgeous Tolkien-esque dragony map and started making some illuminated letters and tracing some title in. I then put down some non-numerical kind of goals I had. Didn't love the colouring, got rid of the background, changed the font colour a little bit, and then changed how the dragon was and got that map texture back to it a little bit more. For my library, I figured out how many books I would need to represent every book on my TBR shelf, found a shelf that would accommodate that, doubled it, and then I put these two little fellas down the bottom who I like to think are me and my partner Jessie arguing over a book. Got the TBR illuminated letters in there, tracing those up, and then I found this gorgeous kind of like wallpaper for the background. Then I started writing in the title of every single book I own, hopefully. Well, every single book on my TBR. Hopefully I've got most of them. I think I'll probably encounter more and I can just add them in. I've got plenty of space left over at the end. And I'm going to fill these in by the colour of the book rather than the rating I give them. But look at those little fellas just reading that book. My pile of shame is books that I started and then never finished. Not in a DNF way, just never picked them up again. So I collected some pictures of books to make this stack. I found this fella who is haunted by books and loved him. Don't know if it is actual authentic Middle Ages or not, but it fit the vibe, so I extended the leaves, had the books topple over, and started writing in the titles of some of those books that I consider on my pile of shame. I found some font, not keen on the placement, textured it up, and we've got this gorgeous kind of, oh no, look at all these books toppling that she's never read. For a series tracker, I got this really colourful wall and again started tracing my heart out. I was looking for interesting shapes of windows with quite a lot of panes. The idea is I will per window write a series in, per pane as a book, and then I can colour them in as I go. So I really was looking for quantity over quality here. Fill in the gaps and put a title in. Bob's your uncle, you've got a wall of what will one day be stained glass windows. White background will be better to get the effect I was looking for, as will changing the opacity. So I started writing some in, God help my poor handwriting, and you'll see me colour in a couple of the books I read in the past couple of years that are part of a series. There we go. I love this page. I just think it's such a cute idea, but not as cute as this one. So rather than a 25 and 25, because that's insane, I've got a 5 and 25, so I thought I'll have the 5 horsemen, like my standard carriers, my bannermen, riding into battle with the books I want to vanquish this year. They're riding up that hill, and as I'm sure Cambridge said, go read your books, girl. So I changed the colouring and popped the books on, and they're away up the hill. I gave myself a little scroll for a title, and I just love it. I think it's so cute. I'm so proud of myself, and that texture again, lovely. So this is, instead of a year in pixels, a year in petals. So I took this very famous unicorn tapestry and I rubbed out every single flower on there. And the intention is every day I read, I will put a dot or like kind of colour in one of those gaps so it looks like a field of flowers again. I don't feel too bad about just using this instead of tracing it. A, because look how much detail there is. And B, because I think this is an original, authentic medieval tapestry, which is very much in the public domain and very easily accessible, so I don't feel too bad about that fact. Look at me go, rubbing out all those flowers. Who knew there were that many flowers? Are there 365? I sure hope so, otherwise we're going to be in real trouble. Did not count, not even for a second. Didn't even cross my mind. I wanted a genre tracker this year. You can see I'm struggling to find a pen that I like to trace this out. So I got this lovely boho kind of celestial boho sun, which I traced, and then I did some illuminated lettering for my title of genre tracker, and I got the genres that I would like to really not necessarily focus on, but the ones that I'm interested in tracking this year, the ones that I think I'm actually going to read more than one of. Look at me, tracing all that out. What a queen. I then put 10 segments in each sun ray, so that every time I read a book I can fill in the next one and it looks like the sun is reaching further, which I quite like. And yes, a lovely peaceful face being traced there, tracing the lettering. You'll see at some point I figure out that I can actually just fill existing lettering rather than tracing it. And yes, I did miss a giant gap there. I'll put a different genre in. This is my year in pixels, so tracking things like physically read, audio, read it all, started a book, finished a book and journaled. I just made a standard grid and surrounded it with that lovely magpie pattern. For DNFs, I thought what better to do than the dance macabre, so I got those little fellas down the bottom who I love. I got a frog playing a violin and a mouse playing a strange trumpet, and it's perfect. Then I got that little gadgie up the top playing the lute, and I thought he looks quite nice, I'll mirror him. And then wishlist time, so I got this Ex Libris off of Pinterest, whacked it on a wall, looks like a whole window in a wall, and then just started writing books I want. Didn't like my handwriting and decided it was time to redo it a little bit. But I'm quite happy with how this turned out. I think it's quite effective. It does look like an overgrown window. I don't think this will be the final iteration of this Read the World. I wanted 2 maps laid over the top of each other so I could grayscale one and then rub it out to get colour when I read a book from there, but I don't love this. I do love this. Rather than the book bracket, I'm doing a book joust. So I made a little jousting arena with little shades. Oh, I love it so much. Then I got a bracket and I used a brown pen to trace that out so it looked like lines in the sand. I labelled it up and I also decided it needed something else, a little bit more. So I drew these wee little guys fighting. Love those rabbits killing people. I'm all for it. I thought I'd do some bright, pretty colours as well. Look how cute it is. It's going to be so cute when it's filled with books. I love it. I'm using Corpile this year, so I illuminated lettered CAWPILE and got the nice font for what those letters stood for. And then we get into my monthlies, so I got really fixated with getting like a gothic window on every page. Could not for the life of me figure out how to make it look good, but I made this plan of what I wanted every month to look like. So I got the texture in the background, decided we were just going to find borders, and I did a lot of tracing these illuminated letters. I was so happy when I realised there's a lot of months start with J and I could simply copy and paste and then fill with colour. That was a huge moment for me. And then got the whole month name and some little stars on the go there. Finally, finally figured out what to do with the window. Still don't love it. I can't tell you how many hours I've spent doing these windows for every single month, only to look back now and not be obsessed. It's really upsetting. We'll see how it goes. Then I copy and pasted January as a template for every month, and I changed up the border to get some different key colours. Obviously, most months I will have changed the lettering. That block of kind of lighter coloured oblongs, rectangles, I suppose one could say, are for my notes if I'm going to make any. Here we go into March. These circles on the side are actually for pie charts I'm going to try and make, or try and get Storygraph to make for me, for languages translated from length of book and genre. You might have also noticed a little snail in the corner of every month. I love him. I love that just things are snails in medieval manuscripts, and that's just fine. You'll also notice his eyes. The number of eyes equals the month of the year it is. And not to toot my own horn, I think that's genius. I think that's so fun and so silly. And I'm also colour coding my little snail friend to the borders I put on. Same with the underlining of the title of the month, and also the colour of the notes, kind of highlighted lines. Some months was more successful than others, shall we say. Then it is going to be like this for the rest of the month. Don't know if I've already told you, but that square right in the middle is where I'm going to put my favourite book of the month. So when I flick back, when it's time to do my joust at the end of the year, it will be right there on every month's cover page. And I also did those little kind of stars in the corner that most months I do change the colours to match. It was really hard trying to find colour schemes that kind of fit the months. Again, yellows, oranges, sure, it's the summer, but sometimes I felt like I was reaching a little bit. This window took me 2 days to rub out. I think the concept was like maybe I could colour in a section a day to represent how much I'd read or whether I'd read. Now I think that's an insane idea. I really do. You can see me now starting to struggle to fit enough eyes into the snail as well. You can see the panic start to set in if we just kind of keep an eye on that little snail friend. He's reaching. He's reaching to get those eyes in. It was a real struggle. And I think originally I was going to do something with the snail. Can I remember what that was now? No. Maybe I was going to fill in the shell with the number of stripes being the number of books I read in a month. That seems to make sense, because then you'd have that lovely like striated pattern on the snail shell. And I also realised zooming in on the letters to make it real big would make it much easier to trace. That has only just occurred to me, people. As we get into October, November, December. This was a bugger to rub out, the white on that. And I didn't love that it didn't go all the way around, but I thought, we'll make a difference. There's nowhere for my snail friend to sit, but we'll try something different. Bold going purple in November. I know that's what you're thinking. November's not a purple month. I simply disagree. Copy and paste January in. Bish bash bosh. We've reached December. In the words of Taylor Swift, I think about December all the time. It's got to be blue. It's got to be an icy blue. And what colour's our little snail friend going to be? The same exact blue. With some purple accents to tie into that November theme. What a beautiful set of monthly pages. And this is my template for a review. So book cover will go in the arch, notes will go in there, and we'll have a title across the top. And that is that, my friends. So thank you for joining me for that how I made it / flick through of my 2025 reading journal. If there are any spreads that you think I could add to this that would be really helpful, let me know. Or if there's any kind of medieval aesthetic flares I can add, please let me know. And I'll see you again very, very soon. Bye.